What's good, interwebs? Today I wanted to discuss a little bit more about Linux gaming. I made a video a few days ago about Linux gaming and the reasons why I switched and kind of my thoughts on switching. And today I'm going to talk more about Proton, which really makes it Linux gaming very, very viable in 2026. I know I touched on it a little bit, but I wanted to dive more into it. Proton is a free compatibility layer developed by Valve, and Valve is the owner of Steam. Pretty sure everyone knows that these days. But it lets Windows video games run quite smoothly on Linux. So it's not a lot of the games aren't running like natively on Linux, as some are, for example, like CS:GO. But a lot of them they need to run this compatibility layer, and a lot of times they use Vulkan shaders and stuff like that in order to make it playable. A lot of them are certified to play on Linux, like the Steam Deck certified. There's a website called Proton DB that will show you all the games that are verified, certified, and also playable based on the community that they give in like what's the term they give reports on games. Like they'll play the game and then they'll give it like a rating: bronze, silver, gold, and I think platinum. I think platinum's the highest if I remember correctly. So that's been around for many many years. I think it's on Proton 11. I think I don't know if that one's quite out yet, but I used Proton 10 uh, probably for the last month, the last 8 months I've been on Linux. I know I've dabbled in it for years, and I think I started at eight or nine or something like that. So I think it's like they do probably a main version of Proton every year, and the things that I've seen changed in the last couple of years that I've dabbled with Linux is pretty cool. I know one of the biggest things that a lot of people love on Windows that was not quite, and I think it could technically work, but I don't think it really worked well, was HDR. I'm not a big HDR kind of person. I really don't care about it. I kind of want to select the lighting and just have and go off of that. I don't really want it fluctuating a lot because I feel like that gives me a lot of headaches and stuff. So I mean, HDR was one that came out, I think in either 9 or 10, the version of Proton. So that's really good. They also have multiple monitor support now. I think technically it would recognize my monitor years ago, but my mouse would always get stuck between the two monitors whenever I was gaming, and I didn't matter if I had the game in full screen or borderless windowed. It didn't matter. A lot of times I had to restart the game or I had to turn the other monitor off, and sometimes it would work. It was really frustrating, especially if you're trying to play a competitive game. I haven't had that issue now, which is great. I haven't had it in the last 8 months anyway. And also another one is high refresh rate monitors. I think they technically had that a couple years ago, but it was kind of, some games worked, some didn't, and now it seems to be much better in that sense. All the games that I've played have ran great when it comes to all the bugs that I've seen gone away, that have been taken care of. So I mean that's great that I think it's, yeah, 10 versions. I don't know if it's one a year or what, but there's so many improvements. So I really do feel like when people say that 2026 is the year of Linux gaming or just the year of Linux, I mean, is that true or not? Not 100% sure. I think it all depends on the individual, but I do think that's quite viable when people say that. So let's see. I'm looking at some of the numbers. ProtonDB, their website, is where you can go to see what games are playable and what aren't. A lot of times when new games come out, people buy it and then they will report onto ProtonDB. So a lot of times you can go there and type in the game that you want. Like for example, I was tempted to get Crimson Desert, and it looks like it's playable, but I was like, I don't want to drop $70. But I could at least see, like, is it worth, maybe waiting for a sale or something. So ProtonDB, they show, I think right now it's 29,709 games are verified that you can play. And according to a quick Google search, it says that over 80% of games on Steam are considered playable. And that's just a kind of a quick Google search. This is a little assumption. And if you love or hate Windows, I think it's really great that Linux is growing. Like I said in my last video, it's around 10%, give or take. Steam's hardware survey had it at 5%. So I think that's probably a little more accurate. I think 5 to maybe 8% is probably going to be a little more accurate. And I feel like it doesn't really matter what side of the fence you are. I think it's awesome to see that Linux is growing, and not just as like um, an operating system like Mac to use, say for like writing, video editing, software engineering, or like 3D modeling, like to actually have a Windows competitor when it comes to the gaming space, I think is great. Like I understand that you have Xbox, you have PlayStation, and you have the Switch, but I really think it's good that there's a second option for people on PC, because I mean I know Windows has been kind of buggy ever since Windows 10. I know Windows 10 that a lot of people absolutely loved, and I think it was a great operating system, but there were a lot of issues in Windows 10. That's when they started introducing the what was it, the no, I don't think Copilot was quite in Windows 10 yet. I think that's mainly Windows 11. But the Microsoft 365 subscription, which I think is, I want to say it's like $200 a year or something to use. I think it's crazy to charge that much for stuff that used to be free. Um, like back in the day on Windows XP, Windows 7, Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Excel, all that stuff was free. You paid for the operating system and all that was free. And I know I'm not a boomer, but I feel like that's maybe a boomer take. But I feel like if you pay for something, you shouldn't have to continue to pay for it, if that makes sense. So let's see. I'm just looking at my notes real quick. Oh yes. A competition is great for any kind of space. And I would say the perfect example of this is Apple and Android. Android is a version of Linux, and if it wasn't for Android, Google, Samsung, all the companies that embrace Android, if it wasn't for them, then I don't think Apple would be where they are today. Like I know Apple is not as innovative as they used to be, but I do think that Samsung and Google push them more. Like for example, the Fold that is supposedly coming out this year. I don't think that there would really be a Fold by Apple if Android didn't do it first. Like I know that a lot of people probably disagree with that, but I mean that's just my take. Um, so I would say that I think the year of the Linux 2026 is the year of Linux. I think that is actually viable for a majority of the users. Yes, I know there's probably going to be some niche people out there, like myself, that um, have a hard time 100% switching to Linux, mainly because a bunch of my friends play online competitive shooters like Call of Duty, Battlefield, Apex. So like I still do boot into Windows every once in a while for those games, but I'd probably say 95% of the time I'm on Linux because I just don't want to put up with all the stuff on Windows, especially since Windows, they have people have dug into the software of Windows 11 and the updates, and they found, and this information is probably online if you Google it. And I just remember seeing them on multiple YouTube videos. They were saying that the Windows updates were coded roughly up to 60% of the code was written by AI. So there's going to be issues, there's going to be bugs, and it's the same on Linux, but I feel like with Linux you own your PC. You can do anything you want to it. You can probably do a command prompt, or like the Linux kernel, not the kernel, what do they call it? Console. The Linux console, you could probably add something in there and you might be able, it might break your computer and you have to reinstall Linux, but you don't have to have a Microsoft account in order to use it. You don't have to pay a subscription to use it. I've heard a lot of rumors of Windows 12 coming out maybe in the next year, and I would not be surprised if Windows 12 is going to be like a subscription based like Netflix. Like if you have to pay like $20 a month in order to use Windows 12. But anyway, I just wanted to talk a little bit more about Linux gaming. in today's video and Proton, because I didn't really talk about that much on the last video. But anyway, hopefully you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you guys later.